Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today we're going to cover the next lift that I had a lot of requests for an in-depth explanation and tutorial on how to perform it, and that is the box squat. Now, people who know me are going to laugh because I have a bench here, but what I like to do in some of these videos, I like to demonstrate the classic noob mistakes and the things that people who start using this lift get wrong, and then we go into more in depth. I'll obviously remove that bench in a minute because you shouldn't be box squatting on a bench unless you're at least 6'8". Maybe a guy who's 6'8", maybe 6'9" can get away with it. Everybody else, about impossible, unless you have really deformed legs. So over to the point, I'm going to demonstrate it, and I'm not going to be able to get into why we box squat in this. I have hours of material explaining why we box squat. This is going to be how to box squat, how to do it correctly. Now, a typical noob, this is what their box squat looks like. Whew. That was pretty good, bro. That was hard. Man, leg day. All right. Now, what all did we do wrong? First of all, we didn't set the bar even remotely correct on my back. Number two, we used a box that is 6 inches too tall. In this case, a bench. How tall is the average bench? 18 inches. For me personally, and my legs at 5'9", which on the internet is 6 foot, by the way. But at 5'9", I need at least a 12-inch box to reach depth. I sometimes squat on an 11-inch box. For me, a 13-inch box is probably parallel. On a box squat, we want to go below parallel. Below parallel, we're not high boxing. Now, there are advanced lifters who use the high box, but for our purposes, if you're watching a tutorial on this, you don't need to worry about that for the next 3 to 5 years. I would say your normal low box past 500, then you can think about things like that. But I mean, if you only box squat 400, you shouldn't even be thinking of stuff like that. It shouldn't even be on your radar. So, part of the problem. Number two, narrow footing. Any of you guys who are squatting with a narrow footing, I really don't know what you think you're doing. Letting the knees jut forward, just letting the very tip of the butt touch it, sitting onto the box, and they rock all the way back and then use momentum to get themselves moving again. That is all incorrect. None of that is appropriate. So let's set up an appropriate box. And in my case, that's going to be a 12-inch box. Now, you can do this a lot of ways. You can use plyo boxes. You can use mats. And I'm going to use foam mats. Now, I have 12 of these. They're 1 inch thick. Notice when I use mats, the corner is pointed forward. When you use a plyo box, the corner is pointed forward. You don't ever squat to the flat edge. Much higher risk of accidents. You have less contact. And like I said, if you misgroove it, it's going to hurt really, really bad when you clip the edge of that flat. This should be forward. And in fact, this point should be actually well in front of your pelvis when you sit down. It should be pretty far between your legs, like a good 6 to 8 inches forward. Okay, this gives us maximum surface area, and it lets us sit back onto the box correctly. Observe. This is a correct box squat. Okay, notice I've got a wide stance. Now, a lot of people, I tell them to turn their toes out learning the box squat. That gives you good carryover to the sumo. The more advanced lifter, as we box squat, we learn to go toes forward. There's whole other reasons for that. But notice at the bottom, my shins are very, very upright. They're not perfect. Some people can get it perfect. Notice I'm sitting back, but I'm keeping my torso tight. As we come up, the knees turn out. Torso stays upright. We sit back, boom. Sit back, boom. Okay. None of this. Again, observe. And notice when I say parallel, that means the crease in the hip drops below the top of the knee. If you're not below parallel, you're not box squatting correctly, you're losing most of the benefits. Best of luck having it carry over to a back squat. It's not going to happen. So again, deep breath, turn the knees out, get tight, butt back, sit back. You hit the box. Notice I've unloaded the weight, but my core is tight. Stand straight up. And notice my knees rotate out as I do it. All right, bar position. We'll get over to this. And it's very hard to get under a correct squat bar. Like if you can just walk under a bar and just do it correctly, you're not tight. And as far as people say low bar versus high bar, I don't like low bar squatting. I think for most people it's not good for longevity. And one of the things I want to cover is going to be head position. I keep my head up. That is the single worst contribution starting strength has ever given to the lifting world, is the looking down. Don't do it, it's stupid. I think that they have amazing material. I think Starting Strength is an amazing book. However, that stuff about the head down is the literal single most moronic squat cue I've ever seen anyone give in my life. Don't do it. I catch any of my clients doing it, they're going to get yelled at. So, in order to squat, and I normally squat with a buffalo bar. I don't use the Olympic bar often. You need to get a nice grip. Remember, the wider you go, the harder it's going to be to stay tight, but some people's mobility might require it. Okay, get under the bar. You have to pull yourself forward, and this is hard for me to do with no weight. All right, notice you grip the bar. Put it on the traps. By on the traps, I don't mean up top, on the back of the traps, but above the delts. Shoulder blades are down and back. You pull it, get it in tight. Create a shelf. Stand up. It's better to have the J-hooks an inch too low than an inch too high, by the way. If you're not sure where to do them on the lower setting. When you come back to the box, we take 3 steps. Left foot, right foot to the box, left foot. Okay, 3 steps. When you get ready to squat, remember, shoulder blades down and back. Pull in tight, chest up, head up, neck neutral. Take a deep breath, sit back. The weight is unloaded, but my core is staying tight. Drive up, like this. Now, also note that I have full lungs at the bottom. Holding your breath, exhale as it gets heavy on the way up. Okay? Now, the topic of belts comes up. People ask, when should I wear a belt? You should wear a belt the moment you know how to lift. If you can perform an exercise correctly, embrace your core, you're ready for a belt. I have tons of videos explaining it. We wear belts to make ourselves stronger. We wear belts to get stronger and bigger faster. That's the purpose of a belt. Helps with neuromuscular activation, reduces recovery time. Okay, try it again with the belt on. All right, demonstrate again. And I want you guys to notice I do not rock the box. So you don't rock backwards. You maintain tightness in your core. So again, we come under the bar. Pull the scapula down and back. Set it. Roll forward. Notice my elbows are pointed down. Okay, scapula are completely retracted. It should hurt. If this is comfortable, you're not squatting correctly. Okay, left foot, right foot, left foot. 3 steps. Take a deep breath, brace your core, chest up, head up, elbows are down. We are pulling the weight down. Sit back, onto the box. Notice again, minimal torso movement. You drive straight up. Turn the knees out, spread your feet. Rack it. Okay, then we come over to the question of how wide should you go. Generally, we want to get very, very wide on a box squat because we are doing this for max power. So if we talk about this for a moment, let's look at some different foot stances. I say go as wide as you comfortably can to start, and then you need to progressively work out. If this is the widest you can go without hip pain, then start here. But learn to turn the toes out to help with that over time, okay? So if you have to do that, you come down, right? But over time, you have to work them out. You want to work them out. And ideally you're going to want, a fairly wide stance. Some guys, you might even want to go all the way out like this. This is very advanced though. Most guys can't do this, okay? For me, it's something like this right now. Yeah, but for me, it's toes forward. But it might take you a little bit of time to build up to this, and I say don't force it. You don't want to force a wider stance than what's comfortable for your hips. And it's going to take you time to build the mobility to do that. But the main keys that we're looking for here on our box squat is learning to sit back, and by sit back, we mean your pelvis comes back. You stick your ass backwards like a spear. Okay, it's the butt back. You don't let your torso come back. Keep the chest up, head up. You sit back. Okay, you sit back. And this puts the lowest amount of knee shear on you because you're going to have a more upright shin angle than any other form of squat. Then you stand straight up. And again, notice I actively watch that happens on the way up. Drive the knees out. That's critical for getting the hip and glute activation that you want to drive off that box and to follow through. If you can't do that or you forget to do that, you're probably going to box squat 30 to 50 pounds less. You're just not going to be able to move as much weight because you're not getting all the muscles involved. But the box squat is, again, a very explosive movement. It is the highest rate of force production squat as measured in the laboratory. So it should be explosive, it should be powerful. You are having to go from a dead stop. The weight is unloaded, but you maintain torso tightness. That means full lungs, core braced, chest up, and then drive up. And again, you need to be below parallel. None of this shit. Okay? Totally unacceptable. If you're not at least 5'8", you shouldn't even be thinking about using a bench. The bench is 18 inches tall. This is a 12-inch box, 6 inches difference. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.